All right, here are some common mistakes that students make that you need to know how to fix if you encounter that problem. So the first mistake that students make is they forget to make a selection line. So if you don't see any dotted lines on your screen, you have no selection. If there are no dots on the screen, then the computer is going to fill the entire screen with whatever color you choose. So lots of students remember to pick a color. So say they want red next, they set the red color, they click OK, and then you know that you've learned Shift Backspace. It still says 100, you press Enter, and the whole screen covers with red. That happened because there were no selection marks placed within the drawing. So look at your cheat sheet. There's a couple of ways you can get rid of the red. The fastest way is to undo, which is Control Z. It will only undo the last thing I did, but it will bring it back to before that mistake happened. So if I don't do Control Z, another place I can undo something is in my history. If I look for this back arrow, I put my mouse on it, it says history. I can just click up one layer and it will undo again in that space. If I decide that I want to start over completely, I can scroll all the way up in my history and just click back to my open file and it will take me all the way back to my black and white image. So that's what happens if you forget to make a set of selection lines on your screen and the whole drawing disappears. Another issue that students run into is, you've made your selection, you've set that color, and then you decide, oh, you know what, I really don't like this color. I like my M, I like my G, but I just want to go back and redo my E. So you know that you have to use your magic wand tool and you click, and then you know that, oh, I set my color to green this time, Shift Backspace Enter, but now the green only filled a part of that E. The reason that happened is because the magic wand tool can only read colors that are the same. So when I click on this part of my E, my magic wand can only read this light blue color unless I train it to see other colors. So if I want it to fill in, or rather select this whole dark blue area down here, I'm going to have to hold the Shift button. Look at your cheat sheet. It says to add to a selection, you hold Shift. If I hold Shift and click the E, it's going to train my magic wand to read other colors. And then I just have to make sure this whole area is selected. Now I can go pick my green color, set that color, Shift Backspace Enter, or I can do my gradient tool and mix those colors, two colors that I had chosen. So that's how you can use your magic wand tool on an area that's not white. You just have to train it to see the other colors. So some of you might experience this issue. I'm going to zoom in, Control+. In your drawing, you might have had a gap in your Sharpie line. So right here, when I click my magic wand in this triangle, this whole area is selected. And that's because when I zoom in, space bar will give me my hand, I can drag that screen. I have this small space between my drawing, and that's why this whole area selects. So I can close that gap by using one of my tools. Tool number 6 is called your pencil tool. So if I hold tool 6, I can draw and fill in this gap. My line that I draw is the size of that circle that I see on my screen. That's going to make too big of a mark because I want that to be the exact same size as my original drawing. So I need to change the size of that dot. The easiest way to do that is to look at your keyboard. Find the letter P. The bracket next to the letter P is going to shrink that dot. The bracket 2 spaces over from the letter P is going to grow that dot. So I need to shrink or grow my dot till it's similar in size of my Sharpie line. So now that my dot is similar in size, I'm going to close that space, but I want it to match the same color. So if you look at your cheat sheet, tool number 11 is called your eyedropper tool. So I need to find the eyedropper over here on my toolbars. And actually in this version of Photoshop, tool 11 is higher in the row, but it still looks like an eyedropper. So when I click my eyedropper tool, that is going to copy any color on my computer screen. Right now, tool 13, my foreground color is green. When I'm on my eyedropper tool and I click on my computer screen, it's going to match whatever color I just clicked. So when I clicked, my background color turned gray. I just want to move that to the front. The shortcut is to click the letter X, and now that goes to the front, or I can click this reverse triangle here and it will switch between the colors. That gray color was because I clicked on my Sharpie line that as it scanned, it ended up looking a little more gray. And now when I'm on my pencil tool, when I click to fill in that dot, that will look more similar. And when I zoom out, I'm really not going to tell a difference. Yes, if it's zoomed in, it kind of looks a little computerized versus the Sharpie drawing, but when you zoom out, it's not going to make a difference. So now that I closed the gap, now I can use my magic wand tool, and that space will stay its own area. And I want that to become the white of the background again, because when I zoom out, that space was a 3D edge of my letter E. So you want to check your drawing. If you see any gaps in your drawing, so for example, right here, got a gap right here. I'm going to use my magic wand tool to copy the color of that Sharpie. The letter X puts the gray on top, switch to my pencil tool, and now I can click and fill that gap. When I zoom out, I'm not even going to notice that it looks slightly different from everything else because the color is so similar. So those are some common mistakes that students run into and how you can start to correct those on your own. So for this assignment, you need to fill in all the white areas with color, either with your magic wand tool or with the using your magic wand tool to make selections and filling it with flat color, or by using your gradient tool. Another helpful thing is that your computer starts to remember what colors you've used previously. So if I decide that I want to make my letter A the same purple as my M, and I click tool 13, I know I want it on purple, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know where I clicked to get that precise color. Here's how you can do that. If you click on swatches, swatches start to record the colors you've worked with. So you might find that color up on that row, or you can just use your eyedropper tool again. So if I'm on my eyedropper, I click that purple, click X to put that on the foreground. That color just appeared right here in my swatch, and it is already here on tool 13. I've got my selection. I can just do Shift Backspace Enter. Control D gets rid of my dotted lines, and that's how I can start to reuse similar colors that I had previously if I want to make my design consistent all the way around. So that's how I'm going to finish this assignment. I'm going to fill all the white space with my name and all the white space in my background, so that when everything is filled with color, then I am turning in this assignment to the T drive. Okay, so now that I've got my name kind of matching with the same color tones, now I'm just going to be working with my background, where I have selected these background rows by holding Shift, and then I'm going to fill this with these two colors that I've set. And then I'm going to click my next areas, and I might switch colors. I can click anywhere on my rainbow to do that. And then I'm going to click on my gradient tool to start to set my next set of colors. So I'm going to proceed to fill my background in the same manner. So I noticed that when I clicked this row, 2 rows actually selected. That's because I have a gap in my drawing. So I need to zoom in and figure out where that gap was within my drawing, and that gap is way up here. So I'm going to get my pencil tool, I'm going to use my eyedropper, I'm going to click on that color. X is going to put that color to the front. My pencil tool is going to allow me to click in those spots, and I'm going to go ahead and just click anywhere else I see little gaps in my drawing. Now when I switch to my magic wand tool and zoom out, you can see that just that row was selected and that corrected my problem. So now this is just a process of using my gradient tool by blending the colors that I have. The length of the line I draw determines how much of that color I see within that space. Okay. And maybe I just repeat that until I'm finished, where I do blue, purple, pink. If I know I want the row the same color, I'm going to hold Shift to select all those pieces. I know I've been using these colors in my color swatches, so I'm going to set these, click X to flip that. My gradient tool. My magic wand tool to choose my next space and hold Shift to make selections that are going to be the same area color. That's all going to be purple. Okay, when I click here, I get this whole area that's selected, so I got to figure out why, and it's because I did not draw a line right here. So I'm going to get my eyedropper tool. I'm going to click that gray, get my pencil tool, and I'm going to draw a line there. So now that area does not select with everything else I could choose. Okay, I'm going to get my light purple, dark purple, gradient tool. Switch my magic wand, and I'm going to click in those next pieces. And I got another gap. Okay, so here's where my other gap is. When I zoom in, I got a gap right here. So I need my eyedropper tool, click the gray. Click my pencil, fill that gap. Now my dot stays where I want it to. Hold Shift to make all these areas selected because they're all going to be the same pink color. And the light pink, dark pink, gradient. Alright, now that I have my background filled, I'm going to take a look at my name and make sure that it still stands out well. And in my opinion, my name is too dark, so I have used my magic wand tool and I've selected the pieces to my name by holding Shift. And I'm going to choose slightly brighter colors, so I've selected two brighter colors that now you can see when I fill those, my name really stands out. So when I am completely finished and I'm ready to turn this in, look at the bottom of your directions. To turn in your assignment, you're going to File, Save As. You need to choose this PC, and then you need to double click the T drive, West Middle School, Dropbox, Kendall, your class period, and you always save your assignments as your last name, because I need you alphabetical by last name. Once you have saved it as your last name, you should make sure that it's still set to a Photoshop file, PSD. And then you're going to click Save. If you get another box, then click OK or Enter, and that's how you turn in a copy to me. You always turn into the T drive, save it as your last name, but you should also save yourself a copy so that you've got a backup in case something happens to the one you turn in to me. So when you save yourself a copy, I would always click this PC, your personal G drive, open your art folder. I would title it Graffiti, and then your last name, so that you remember this was your graffiti assignment.